Hi everyone, and welcome to my December wrap-up, and my last monthly wrap-up, probably, because my plan next year is to do weekly wrap-ups instead, and hopefully this won't take too long, because I'm filming this in the morning, and I have to go to work soon, so it can't take a long time. We'll see. I ended up reading 14 books and 5 novellas this year, sort of. There's one, like, weird, or this month, there's one, like, weird thing, but whatever. And a lot of the books I read were, I feel like, library books or ebooks. I read quite a bit of new adult, so that helps that. So like I've been doing the last couple of months, I'll split these up into genre. And first is the YA books. So I did read the Precious Stone trilogy by Kirsten Gier, which is Ruby Red, Sapphire Blue, and Emerald Green. I had borrowed these from the library, and I did do a non-spoiler series review a couple weeks ago, I'm not sure. Time has gotten away from me with the holidays. That you can check out if you want to know more about my opinions. But I gave the first 2 books 4 stars and the third one 4.5. I really enjoyed all of them. They were super fun and they suck you in. And then I had read My True Love Gave to Me 12 Holiday Stories, edited by Stephanie Perkins. I think I read like 4 of these stories in November, but I finished them this month. And overall I gave the series 3.5 stars. I ended up rating all of the stories, like the short stories, individually, and actually did reviews on my blog for each story as well. And then I just averaged all of my reviews, and that's how I came up with 3.5 stars. And I do think that's a pretty accurate representation of how I felt. I really liked some of the stories, but was disappointed by others. You can check out my blog if you want more. A link to the blog is usually in the description. But I definitely liked Rainbow Rowell's story. I think a lot of people did. And I really liked Gail Foreman's and Stephanie Perkins, and then there was somebody else and I did like Allie Carter's as well, but I'm an Allie Carter fan. And I thought this was a fun, fairly diverse collection of short stories, like diverse in a lot of ways. It's not all Christmas, and it's not all like white heterosexual couples. And yeah, so those are all of the young adult books I read. Next is new adult. Apparently I read a crap ton of Abby Glines this month. I did read the like Chance duology in the Rosemary Beach series, so Take a Chance and One More Chance. And both of these got 4 stars from me. These were like way at the beginning of the month. I don't even remember. I felt about these the same way I feel about a lot of Abby Glines. I think that they really suck you in and they're really engrossing, but I tend to find them a little melodramatic, and she uses a lot of the same like conflicts and tropes that I'm just not a huge fan of. But I liked Harlow, I liked Grant for the most part. The second one definitely made me cry, and I don't know if I've said this before in video, but I've said this before in reviews. The character of Nan really bothers me. Not in like she's a bitch and I don't like her, but in that I feel like she's written poorly. I feel like she is constantly just used as a way to cause conflict for other characters, and she's just become this default, you need drama, so bring Nan into a scene. And I just don't think that's fair to her as a character. I feel like there's more to her, and we actually do start to see a little bit more with her, and so I'm hopeful that Abby Glines will eventually take her somewhere. I don't necessarily need her to have a romance or her to have a happily ever after. I just need her to have development and not just be this flat character that's there to cause drama. It just really rubs me the wrong way. And then I did read You Were Mine, which is Trip and Bethy's story. I read that as an ebook, and I read that right after it came out. It came out in December. And I've liked Bethy since the beginning. She was one of my favorite characters, and I don't know how to talk about this without, I don't want to spoil anything, but I feel like this book's existence is a spoiler. What occurred in an earlier book really pissed me off. I felt like I was taken advantage of as a reader. Whatever, I won't go into that. So I was a little apprehensive to go into this story, but I did end up really enjoying it. at least the first half. So I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought the first half of the story, there's a wedding that takes place in this book, and of like one of the previous couples. Up until the wedding, I thought the book was fantastic, like on its way to being a 5-star read. It was paced really well. I liked where the characters were going, and then after the wedding it went Abby Glines, and it did exactly what she always does, which is just like over the top, crazy fast drama, people making impulsive decisions that I don't think are wise, which is how it got knocked down to 3.5 stars. But I still like Beth and Trippy, or whoa, Bethy and Trip. Wow, that was bad. And I'm glad it was just like one standalone story instead of being broken up. I respect that she realized that this was just one story and that's all that needed to be told. And then I did read Kiro's Emily, which was a like little novella she released for free, which is about Harlow from the Take a Chance and One More Chance books, her parents and how they met. It's got 2 stars from me. I really wanted to like it. I really did. And there were parts of it that got me, but there were just too many things that upset me. It was a ton of bad decision making on the character's part. I really didn't like Kiro. Every single time I had to be in his head, I just found him really disgusting. And her character, Abby Glines' characters can have a tendency to be a little, like male characters can be a little abrasive and a little rough, but she always finds a way to make them somewhat approachable and likable, and I just did not like Kiro at all. And I wanted to. I really did. I read The Year We Hid Away by Serena Bowen. This I gave 4 stars. I had heard good things about Serena Bowen just around and had always considered buying her books but never actually followed through. And then I saw that this one was only 99 cents and figured, what the hell? Even if I hated it, it was only 99 cents, so it's really not that big of a deal. And I actually really enjoyed it. So it's the second book in like a companion series, and I do want to read the other books. And it's about a girl and a guy, and she's kind of running away from her past, but it's not the same past like every other girl in new adult novels are running from. She's running away from something her father did, and a guy who has a secret of his own, he's also hiding something, and so they both meet and are like, they want a relationship, but both of their secrets are like keeping them apart. But both of their secrets get revealed pretty early on, which I love when authors do that, and that like the secret isn't the huge conflict, but they're like working through their issues that have caused them to keep these secrets are the conflict. And I really liked both characters, especially the male character, Bridger. I guess a lot of people really like him. He is super sweet and fun, and I mean obviously his, like if you read his story it's kind of hard not to love him. But I liked her too. She was great, and I liked that. I thought it was a really good new adult read for sure. Plus, not so much, but both of these characters used to play hockey and don't anymore because of what happened in their lives. But I believe the other 2 books in the series, especially the third one, focuses more on hockey, I think, based on the summaries. And I'm always looking for more hockey books. If you know any hockey books, let me know. The last new adult book I read was Only Between Us by Mila Ferreira, which is about 2 characters. So in November, I think, I read Everything Between Us by Mila Ferreira. This book takes place before that. It's about 2 characters named Romy and Caleb, and Romy has recently, like earlier in the year of the story, gotten out of an abusive relationship, and so she's just kind of finding her way back into the world and trying to find out if she can trust people and her own judgment and those kinds of things. And Caleb is an artist who's dealing with his sister who has some mental health issues that she's dealing with. And they meet because Romy starts going to an art class that he's teaching. This one I gave 4.5 stars. I really liked it. I think I like Everything Between Us just a little bit more, which I think I gave 4 stars, but I should up to 4.5. I think Mila Ferreira does a very good job of handling mental health issues and just mental health in a really healthy, respectful way. she doesn't just use it as a tool to make her characters give you an emotional connection to them. She really treats it well, which I love. Everything Between Us has a character with social anxiety, so there's that. And I really liked the way their romance progressed, obviously because they both have a lot going on in their lives. They need to be wise about the decisions that they're making, and they're not just like crazy like some new adult characters. And then I also, both this and the other book had art featured prominently in them, and she does a very good job of describing that. I feel like it's hard to, I've said this about music before too, art is so visual, it's hard to convey in a book, but I picture, or at least I picture something in my head from what she's describing, and it does get to me. Art is kind of a gateway to the artist's soul, and I'm not even an artsy person, but the way she described the art, especially Caleb's art, really gave me a look at where he was coming from and his past, and that's what it was supposed to do, and it worked, which was great. I'm really, really liking her. On to romance. First, I think the first book I'll talk about, I think a lot of people consider new adult, but I don't. I just consider it contemporary romance, personally. And that's Sweet Thing by Renee Carlino. I gave this 4 stars. No, I gave it 4.5. And this is about a girl who, her father passes away, so she's graduated from college. She decides to go to New York to run his cafe that he has while she figures things out, and ends up meeting a musician, and things go from there, I guess. He moves in with her, and it's very much they become friends, and then their relationship grows from there. And it definitely has like a decent amount of drama in it, but I didn't mind it. And there's one of my favorite things about this book is it takes place over a long period of time. They end up knowing each other for a long time, and one of my favorite things about that is her father just passed away. And I think anytime you're in a state where something happens and you could be a little vulnerable, I'm always apprehensive when characters get into relationships, so I'm glad Renee Carlino decided to like draw things out. So after I read that, I immediately read the novella Sweet Little Thing, which follows up with it, which I gave 5 stars. It's basically a crazy long epilogue. Like, there's some drama, but not a crazy amount. So it's really just you seeing the characters like happy and in the future, and just like being all kinds of happy and amazing, and I loved it. I could just read about characters being happy. I feel like that's a thing, and I would love more people to do it. Then I read My Tied Up by Alice Clayton, which is her latest book, and I gave this one 4 stars. This is in her cocktail series, and this one follows the cousin of Clark, who we meet in the previous book, Screwdrivered. And this was a lot like Screwdrivered, where I feel like it's less about the romance between these two characters and more about the main character, Chloe, her personal growth and her journey to independence and finding herself and what she wants out of life. And I really enjoyed going on that journey with her. Lucas, he was cute. It was a veterinarian, and just their story was very cute as well. I definitely connect with Chloe a little bit more than the heroine of the previous book. And also, if you've read the other book in the series, this series is like, even when you think characters aren't connected, they are. Like, characters from the Wallbanger series showed up in here because it's just like this weird circle of like knowing each other. And then I read, this is where things get weird, I finished the Bridgerton's Happily Ever After like anthology collection thing. Technically I only read 1 novella this month, and that was Violet in Bloom, but I finished the anthology, so that finished the series, like the whole book. This is by Julia Quinn. I gave the series as a whole 4 stars, and I gave Violet in Bloom 5, I believe. And the collection is basically second epilogues to Julia Quinn's Bridgerton series, which I really enjoy, and I liked some of them and I didn't like some of them. And this one came as a surprise to me. This is about the Bridgertons, their mom, Violet, and This is also part of the reason Kira's Emily got a pretty bad rating. I had read that right after I read this, and I find that they both have similar story points. And this short story is only like 20 or 30 pages, and it did a much better job of getting those points across. It basically follows Violet and her life from childhood to being like a great grandmother and everything she goes through. And I cried and I laughed and I fell in love with her, and it made me want to reread the series and reread it with a new eye, looking at her and seeing how I've always liked her as a character, but see it with this new insight on her and her past, I guess. And then I read 3 novellas by Maya Rodal, and these connect with her Wallflowers series, which the Wallflowers are historical fiction or historical romance, and these are contemporary romance, and they follow a woman named Jane Sparks, and within the context of this, she is the one writing the Wallflower books called The Bad Boy Billionaire. And so the first one is Wicked Arrangement, then Girl Gone Wild, then What a Girl Wants. And they kind of read like a serialized story to me, like each one kind of picks up where the previous one left off, and together they create a cohesive story and romance. I gave each of them 4 stars. I did enjoy them. I liked Jane, and I liked what she did with the billionaire trope, which is normally not a favorite of mine. She also played with marriage of convenience, which you don't see a lot in contemporaries, so that's always fun, and that's definitely a favorite for me personally. But I did find it a lot of what happens in Jane's life shows up in the historical books, and I found that a little heavy-handed personally, but overall I enjoyed the novellas, and I'm enjoying Maya Rodal as a writer. Finally, on my other books. I'm almost done. Oh my god, this is gonna take forever. I finished Stone of Tears by Terry Goodkind, which was a goal of mine. Yay! I gave this 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. My favorite parts were like Kaylin's parts, and Richard was okay. I found Zed's parts a little boring. I just struggled to connect to him. And I found sometimes Richard especially a little morally like inflexible, and he like wouldn't understand why people would do the things that they would do, and when they made different decisions than him, and I found that a little frustrating. And I also thought the resolution was a little quick and a little easy, but there were some things left unresolved that I believe are what the next book is about, so I'm hoping that that gets drawn out more there. And I also expected Kara to show up here, and she does, but right at the end. So, I mean, I can't mark it down for that, but that was a little disappointing. And finally, I read a nonfiction book this year. I read Dave Barry's History of the Millennium So Far. I gave this 4 stars as well. I love Dave Barry. I think he's hilarious. This is really a collection of, he would write articles at the end of every year looking back on the year, and this is for 2000 through 2006, I think? Yes, through 2006. And it was really funny. I'd forgotten a lot of things that happened, and this kind of reminded me of them instantly. And yeah, it's just a satire, and it's funny, and I enjoyed it. That was my December wrap up. I feel like it was not my best, but it was a good reading month. Most of the things I read got like 4 stars or more, which I think is really, really good, and I'm really grateful for that. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you had a great 2014, and I wish you the best of luck in all things in 2015. Bye!